taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Augmented Reality Podcast for March 18th, 2020. This is a presentation of the Triple S League, the Augmented Reality Podcast, your source for news, leaks, and insights about games and the gaming industry. Wednesday edition of the show. Hello, everybody. I see lots of you active in the live chat already. It's great to see you. I know some people saying they're catching it live for the first time ever because of quarantine situations and stuff like that. We're going to be talking about that a little in just a minute here, about the situation in the world and how it relates to us and what we can start to do about it as a community. But anyway, if you are listening live today, please do say hello in the live chat. Send us your questions and comments there as well. And please tell us if it is your first time catching the show live. Let us know and we'll try to shout you out. No guarantee we'll see the message, but hello. Oh, Somnolence, Polly's911, King Weeb, Russ Hunt, everybody saying hi. Great to see you all. All right. A lot of people wondering about the statement on the thumbnail about, is there going to be another delay of Cyberpunk 2077? Officially, no, but we're gonna dive into that. There's a little more nuance to it than that. Cyb's gonna get into that. Hello, Cybsidian. That's the other voice you're hearing. Resident know-it-all computer cyborg Cybsidian. That's your official designation now. Also, don't forget to slam that like button if you're watching the show live or after the fact. And, that really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Speaking of the YouTube algorithm, YouTube notified us and, other content creators that basically due to the situation that we all know about, I'm not going to mention by name because that will get flagged by said algorithm.
It's still being, holy crap, is it ever being weird?
They're actively, like, they're basically... They're flagging it and suppress in an effort to suppress, like, quote unquote false information being spread about it. They're like actively ranking videos that even discuss it or mention it. They're like doing whatever they do to only make sure authentic information gets out there or whatever the crap their intention is there. But anyway, they've notified us that basically the human interaction that they will have with us is going to be lessened. Like, there's going to be less like manual reviews from human individuals, that kind of a thing. Everything's going to be automated for the most part over the next little while, and in an effort to protect their staff's health. In other news, YouTubers notice no difference in YouTube's operations. Okay. Also, we're going to be talking about consoles today. But before we get into the actual gaming news, we want to talk about, again, like I said, the situation in the world with the, health concerns. I mean, it's just gone crazy this week. Everything's being shut down. Everything's canceled.
It's called the Plague Inc. LARPing party.
Right, the Plague Inc. LARPing situation. So a lot of people are under mandatory or self-imposed quarantines, or social distancing is being encouraged in a variety of situations, basically worldwide at this point. I know I'm being affected by it, so is Cyb. People's jobs are being affected. It's a difficult time for a lot of people. And so we want to know what we can do as a community to help out. Obviously, we can't solve the problem unless someone out there has a vaccine and in their back pocket. But what can we do to help? What can we do to make people's lives better as we sort of all weather this storm together? What can we do as a community? And so I want your feedback. I want your ideas on that. Could we do more live streams? Should we as a community, like on Discord, set up like gameplay sessions? Is there anybody who would like to volunteer to coordinate that kind of thing? Should we, do special live streams dedicated to people who are shut in, that kind of a thing? Let us know your ideas in the feedback channel on the Discord server. If you're not on the Discord server, go into the description below and click on that, and you'll click on the link there to join the Discord server. There's a lot of great stuff going on there, a lot of great discussions happening there. Anyway, but yeah, we want to hear your thoughts. I know a lot of you are stuck at home, either not working or working from home or just stuck at home. And
which is going to be, so there's a lot of interesting things that are going to end up coming out from this. First of all, there's a lot of and I've been saying this for a while now. There's a lot of office buildings and office towers that are filled with a whole bunch of people that work in the office building, office tower thing. And this is something that's been happening like more and more, is that you realize that you don't actually have to show up to the building. Like, to have a whole bunch of people who are just doing like clerical computer work and programming, that kind of stuff, you discover really quickly that that there are not everybody. Some people really need that office experience in order to focus, but there is a lot of people out there who their production is going to go through the roof because they don't have the stress, the anxiety of having somebody like keep an eye on them. They don't have this constant going on where it's distracting and it's difficult. And I suspect strongly that what we're going to end up seeing from this is there's going to be a lot of companies who are going to be sitting there going, "Hey, why are we paying $5 million, $6 million, or more for an office building every year when we could just tell people to just work from home?"
Right. Yeah, for some people that would work well.
Yeah, for other people, not so much. And
some people need, as time being saying in the chat, it's like the situation with my wife and I. Like I work I work very well in an unstructured environment. My wife's completely the opposite. She needs the structure, she needs the schedule, she needs the the get up, go to work kind of a thing. So we're kind of opposites on that, but it works well because then I'm the one who wound up staying at home with our kids when we had kids, and that's also why I can do this kind of a job. But yeah, so for some people that'll definitely be good, and I hope that there may be some positive outcomes like that. Maybe more people will be able to work from home as companies realize, hey, we actually we don't have to be micromanaging all of our workers all the time. Some people stay home and they do as much, if not more, as when they show up to the office. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to leave that there for now. But like I said, go to the feedback channel on our Discord server. Throw your ideas in there. We will do everything we can. We may need some help. I mean, we're limited in, how many streams we can do a week, that kind of a thing, and organizing things. We may need some help from you guys to set stuff up if we're going to do things. But we want to know what other ideas you have. All right. So, Neon Arcade in the chat. I have 3 jobs at the moment, and they can all be done from home, but being stuck at home is driving me crazy. Well, there you go. Yeah, some people like to get out. And so especially for those people, we want to, as a community, sort of help out as to the best of our ability. But even just going on the Discord and having discussions, I saw somebody mentioning earlier. Yeah, like actual human contact. We do have, this is an opportunity that people didn't have 100 years ago when they were quarantined. So
I'm going to be doing some. Now there's some people who are freaked out when we talk about this kind of stuff and the whole LARPing situation. Because of that, I'm going to try to keep my my comments on it in the off-topic area, and as well as like posting some info and some helpful little tidbits that I get from time to time. But yeah, it's definitely one of these things where it's like, yeah, it's getting heavy.
All right, but let's get into the gaming news. All right, so will there be another delay for Cyberpunk 2077? There's been a lot of talk about a whole bunch of, so many events have been canceled, and there's talk about a lot of games for this year being delayed because of health concerns. So, of course, a lot of people are wondering about Cyberpunk 2077 and whether or not the situation is going to affect it at all. We know CD Projekt Red has transitioned a lot of their staff to working from home. and so they're taking some measures to keep their staff healthy, which is good to see. A lot of the stuff that those staff need to do can just be done from home, so that's good as well. And officially, as far as we know, correct me if I'm wrong, Cybus, officially they've said there's not going to be a delay. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the official word on it. There should not be a delay. They are not planning on delaying it.
And the game, as we
we've
talked
said-
about recently, has been submitted for review by various rating agencies, so that tells us that it is in a state of relative completion. There's some polishing, some QA work going on. But
So as I've said before, a number of times, like they only have a handful of release dates that they can really hit a year, just to kind of like get that number and get that exposure up. Now the big question is, does the LARPing cause any interference with this? And so this is what I have. Officially, they're saying no. For some people that I've spoken with, officially, it's a for sure a no, because they don't need to delay it for technical or work-related reasons. They are quite confident because basically they only needed like an extra month or two, and unfortunately that puts them smack dab in the middle of summer with their previous release schedule. Even if we're to slow down a fair bit on it, it's still highly unlikely that they would need any extra time on a technical perspective, on a missions or quests or all that kind of stuff. All that stuff has now been locked in. They are officially moved over to post work on that kind of stuff, so post release work, because you can't you can't add in new quests after you send it for the ratings approval. You can't. I mean, you could, but it's like, it's dodgy. It's a bad thing to do because the ratings board wants to know what all the quests are, wants to know what all the missions are. If you suddenly add in a mission where the reward is some hot coffee or something like that, obviously then people in the ratings system board are going to get pretty heavily annoyed very, 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 very quickly. So so as far as all that stuff goes, no, this is for sure not. Will it be delayed if stuff goes to the ever living sideways? The LARPing thing ends up becoming like extreme. 30-40% of the population is put into hard mandatory or like other stuff. Power grid goes down in a number of areas, communication grids go down, all of that kind of stuff. The absolute craziness, then yes, obviously it's going to be delayed. Obviously, if people can't even access digital markets, if people can't boot up their computers as a whole, there's going to be a pause to stuff. So there is this level of like, okay, obviously that's going to cause a big issue, right? So the answer to that is like, obviously that's something that will be considered, but right now, as of now, there's no plans for it. So if things are as progressing as everybody believes they are, then again we won't see any kind of a delay in that front. And they've been quite positive on this overall. It's like, look, we don't technically, the game will be done within like a month or two, little over, little under 2 months basically. Getting it out and getting it ready, like there's basically, that's it. So
release it early. We need stuff to do. Yeah, probably not. But anyway, yeah. So,
however,
barring any extreme circumstances, it's on track to be released in September. Correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, I was talking over you there. What were you saying?
So yeah, basically it's just the long goals of this is basically like they're ready to go with this. There's no delay needed. However, again, possible delay if everything goes sideways. And I mean, right now, as it stands, currently, there's a good chance that the consoles are going to end up getting delayed. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a very, very good chance that the consoles will be delayed, and there's most certainly a good chance that the possibility of a complete and total um, delay. I mean, that's maybe not necessarily there, but for sure, we're going to see a limited number of consoles, just due to the whole situation with trade, manufacturing, all this other stuff that's currently going on. It is frankly,
Yeah. Well, and
I'm
that's a good way
surprised
to
it hasn't
transition to our
been.
next topic. Yeah, when you consider where the parts for these consoles are
Mhm.
going to be manufactured, or are being manufactured, or are supposed to be being manufactured, that could cause a problem.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, it's not looking good currently right now. So, yeah, what does this exactly mean for the future? Well, we're not really sure because there's a whole bunch of other problems and whatnot that are going on with this. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
hmm all right. Well, anything more to say about Cyberpunk before we move on? Um, and the reason for the big, another delay with a question mark is just because this is a question that's on people's minds, and we
Yeah,
had
this is
we had
this is
Jason
a
Schreier on Twitter saying,
hmm
games that are
and he
scheduled
brought
for
it up.
April are probably okay, but beyond that, all bets are off. That was his quote.
Yeah,
Going to be delays,
yeah.
delays,
So
delays. Well, of course, Cyberpunk not scheduled until September for release.
there and there were a lot of people who started poking in saying, "Oh my goodness, it's not going to be Cyberpunk, is it?" And then there was a whole bunch of other people, some industry people who started saying, "Oh yeah, yeah, this could probably happen." That's just fluff because again, there's no evidence to support that. Um, right now, as has been pointed out by other people who know this industry and who understand this industry, now is a great time for games because people need to be entertained. And unfortunately, it looks as if non-essential shipping is actually going to be shut down in certain areas. So in certain areas, it's already started to happen. All packages that are not considered vital, so things that are not food and medication, are being put on the back burner. So they're being put in a storage facility, or they're just being told, no, you can't ship this right now. We can't accept this. We can't. We're not porting this. We're not porting somebody's F3000 coffee maker or you know some whatever.
Hey,
I was gonna say
hey,
something.
hey! Coffee maker is definitely an essential. You
So
shut it with
yeah,
that heresy.
because of the way that this is all just kind of leaning, and because of all the insanity that's going around with that, right now video games are the preferred distraction that you want people to be running away with. You really want people to be working with this and fueling this and kind of like going for this because right now there's a good chance that it helps, and there's a good chance that it's going to work quite well to really boost it. So a number of games right now they're starting to like catch on with the idea of like games that normally cost subscriptions are, people are suggesting, hey, why don't you cut the subscription off? Why don't you just activate a bunch of old accounts and give people time to like go and do stuff because they're not outside. I mean, they're barely walking dogs now, right? And
Yeah, I
that's the
was
other
out.
thing. It's like don't walk your dog, guys. Like you walk your dog, you put your dog outside, but you keep them very contained to like small areas,
We
because
yeah,
again,
I
you
took my dog and my kids for a walk yesterday, and it was weird. It was like it was. I felt like I was in the world of The Walking Dead or something.
hmm
Did see a few people around, you know, not, but from a distance kind of a thing. But man, it was so quiet. It was really weird,
yeah. So
surreal.
these are all things that like companies are starting to take note of, and as we said, like this is the time for online video gaming to shine. and this is the time to start offering, unique things and getting people back into, I mean, MMOs themselves. Like every MMO out there right now should be offering like, hey, we're having a special, come in, no subscription needed. A lot of these MMOs have like cash stores and stuff like that for costumes and mounts and all that kind of stuff. They should just basically say, hey, right now, everybody, no subscription. Come in, join, find the community again, spend time, hang out, that kind of stuff. Stupid hiccups. But yeah, it's like every multiplayer game out there right now. It's like, get in, do this, have fun with this right now. I wasn't originally going to be streaming any of the Kingdom Under Fire stuff, but right now I'm kind of tempted to do that because it's the only MMO I'm currently into right now. So that's an idea. So it's not a very popular game. I wouldn't encourage it because it's a very, 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 very niche thing. But if people are interested in that, then hey, we'll maybe see about doing some of that. But just generally, it's like this is where gaming needs to like step up, and there's a lot of events. There's a lot of esport events that have basically like fallen on their butt, and that's unfortunate. But for the most part, it's like, look, you have the ability to do more now because of this. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not terribly into the MMOs, but we do have Doom coming out in just a couple of days. I've been also playing Ori and the Will of the Wisps. That's a fantastic game if you are into that. Those puzzly action platformers, very atmospheric. That's a great game as well. Yeah, some good games coming out this year. So we, for gamers, there's plenty to do still. But I guess if you have the hardware and getting the hardware, as there's some talk going on right now about graphics cards and things, supplies dwindling. Yeah, may be hard to get your hands on some hardware. But if you've already got a system in place, everybody's got a phone, and as we know, from our friends at Blizzard, that's just as good as playing on a full gaming rig PC. So yeah. A couple of funny comments here I want to read. Simon, 2 questions, Randall, with the facetious. This is I just want to preface this so nobody freaks out. This is a joke announcement, but it's not. There is no announcement on Cyberpunk being delayed. But here's a joke announcement that Simon, 2 questions, Randall came up with. We're sorry to announce 2077 is getting another delay as current PC hardware can't run it above 20 frames per second. While gamers deserve no downgrades and our specs aren't public info. Coming when y'all are ready. I love that.
That would be funny.
Scadril says dogs can't get the LARP juice. Rumor is they can carry it.
They can carry it
and transmit it. So you do want to be careful with your dogs, but they won't get sick from it.
Yeah, if they sniff something or if they get something on their fur, that can then transfer over to you. So it's not that they're licking something and it's getting into their system and then they're licking you, a couple days later and they're giving it to you. No, it's that it can live on their fur, on their hair, and then you can pick that up by the hair. So this is what I mean by like keep your dogs like centralized. You don't want them accidentally sniffing or getting something on their hair, on their nose, on their mouth, and then transferring that over to you. It doesn't live in their system. It just lives on their fur. So, and it can live on their fur just like when you come in and out, your clothes should be either sprayed down with disinfectant or should be put into like kind of like a safe area right near the front, and then kind of more or less quarantined right there, and then you just kind of like put stuff on, which is, it's easy to do in the wintertime, but once summer comes around, this is going to be more difficult. Layers are a good thing.
Spraying clothing with disinfectant, that's a step too far for me.
Well, they're suggesting that you wash your clothes or you put it in like a heat cycle in a dryer, and you turn that up to like, hot, and you just get it hot for about 10-15 minutes.
Well, I figure if it's in my home, it's in my home. And the
Well,
the whole point of this
is avoiding getting it in the home to begin with.
Yes, but I mean, there's so many avenues. I mean, it could have entered 3 weeks ago before all the social isolation stuff, and
yeah,
I mean,
but it's
do what you want out there. But I mean,
lowering your. It's all about lowering your any possibility that you can get. There is more like. So what they have how they have this set up in a couple other countries right now is they have like mobile testing stations. So it's just a giant parking lot somewhere. Sometimes it's like a Walmart or like a pharmacy type setup, and you drive up there. You don't even get out of your car. Lady comes up in full quarantine gear. She gives you a couple things. You swab here and there. Then you put them inside these little baggy things, and you hand them over. And she takes them over to this thing, and like literally 15-20 minutes later they have the test, and then they can tell you whether or not you're positive or whether somebody else is positive. There are reports that there are some people who come home and they spend time in a tight family setting, and only one other person, usually their bedmate, ends up catching it. So that says that even so the ability to catch it seems to be, even like in some cases seems to be really, really hard, but in other cases it's like it seems to be super easy. So really all it is like you do the best thing that you can do, and the best practices are things like don't have an outer layer whenever you go out that you strip off and leave in a particular spot near the front. And if that's inside of like a big bag or something like that, and then you're always dipping in and out of that to take that first layer on and off, or if you're going to spray it with some disinfectant, I mean that works too. So
well,
yeah, it all
I mean,
it all factors in, basically.
You all make your own decisions, of course. Will not tell anyone what to do. I feel like
Ash has kids, so he's like, I don't give a crap.
I can't.
Ridiculous.
I just figure I can't. I send them outside to play, because otherwise, there's not gonna. They still need to. They're not playing with other kids in the neighborhood, but
other people who have issues with like lungs and stuff like that. Again, it's like if you're under 40. And you don't have any lung issues, you don't have any bronchial issues, and you don't have any of that kind of stuff to worry about, the chances of you in the LARPing game going down for the count is highly, highly, highly unlikely. But if you do have serious lung conditions and you are over 40, your chances suddenly go through the roof.
Well, that's the thing. Those who are health compromised or more elderly, you may want to take more precautions in that case. Yeah, for sure. For me, it's more focused on social isolation.
I'm not talking to you, Ash. I'm talking to the other people that are listening.
Yeah, no, I get that. Anyway, well, I'm not saying people shouldn't be careful.
Brotex, thank you for the €5, by the way. That was very nice of you. The governments distribute Steam, PS5 Xbox vouchers to people trapped at home. No Epic though. Yes, this is a good idea.
Yeah,
I like this idea.
No Epic gift cards.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much for the super chat there.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
it's really great.
The other thing too is that they're talking about handing out a whole bunch of stimuli stuff and sending people extra cash. My suggestion for you is, if you don't need the cash, but you're getting it anyways, but if you don't actually need it to make basic necessities, it's a great time to invest in the stock market. Pick a mutual fund, or pick a really like core thing, S&P or NASDAQ or something like that, the Dow, and invest in that. Sure, it might drop some more, but we're at a super low point in the last 4 years. This is as low as it's been. And if you watch how these kinds of recessions, this is not a long-term recession. This is a short-term recession. Now it can spike down hard, but it's going to rebound, or society's going to fall apart. Those are the two options that are basically going to happen. So either everything's going to fall apart, money's not going to mean anything, in which case none of your investments are going to mean anything to anybody in the future, including yourself or anything. If that's the case, then you have a whole lot more to worry about than where you put a bunch of extra money that you didn't need for basic survival anyways. So I would recommend that you put it in kind of like that, because the stocks are going to rebound. They're going to rebound big. If by the time August rolls around and this whole thing is the whole LARPing thing is done with, it's completely gone. Nobody in any kind of way, shape, or form has any like need to worry about this stuff anymore. You'll see the markets completely rebound. Sure, there's some companies, which is why you don't invest in singular companies. Some companies are going to crash and burn from this. Like Disney right now is not doing good. Don't invest in Disney. They have systemic problems that are not being caused by this. So you have to kind of like bear that in mind. But you throw in a bunch of extra money into a big broad mutual fund or into S&P 500, Dow, whatever, you're going to see this stuff climb the ever living crap back up, and it's going to explode into cash, and that's suddenly going to like give you a big windfall, especially if you leave it there for another 30 years, right? Because that's the game that you play with this kind of stuff. You put money in the stock market and then you forget about it for 30 years, and then you pull it out and you're like, wow, this is a lot of money. Yeah, compound interest. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. So thanks again, Brotech, for another £5. Yes, am I a trading bot? I'm not a trading bot, but like, I don't want people to panic. Panic in these situations is always the worst thing to do. Don't panic. There's no need to panic. Right now, like, the only reason why you need to panic is if you're over 50 and you have serious lung conditions and there's outbreaks all over where you are at. That's time for you to like smart panic in the sense of like, okay, I need to do a couple things to like guarantee my safety. Maybe I can go leave. Maybe I can spend some time with some relatives who can really help me quarantine really well. Like put me in a room, give me a TV, keep the kids away from me, that kind of thing. Pass me meals through the door every day that's like been boiled and all that kind of stuff. It's like that's the kind of stuff life-changing decisions that you may be tempted to make. As a person below 40, which I'm pretty sure is most of you guys, there's no need to panic. And there's no need to go to any crazy extremes. It's just take a deep breath and relax, because there's not much there's really not very much that you can do to like try to avoid it. You're most likely going to survive it. Kids are surviving this just fine. So, this is where you like sit down and relax and don't panic. Because panic is what causes problems. Now, there's other problems, and like I said, I'll be keeping everybody kind of tuned into this. If you join the Discord and you hop into the off-topic channel, there I'll be posting some stuff, things like mutation rates, second rounds, that kind of stuff, where that starts to get a little bit more scary, and it's definitely something more to be concerned about. But right now, a couple weeks ago, right when everybody said that, oh, it's dying away, it's going away, and everybody was like, oh yeah, we don't have to worry about it anymore, it's under control. That's when I said, hey, things are going to get a lot worse. And there was a whole bunch of people who were like, oh, you're panicking. Meh, 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 meh. It's like, if I had told you what, then what I knew was going to happen now, most people would have said, you're the end of days like preacher. On the street corner going, the end is near, dinosaurs are going to rise from the volcanoes and eat everybody. Oh, it would have been along that level. And it's like, no, that's not what's happening now. That's not what I was saying then. It's just kind of like what you have to do to just generally prepare. Do you need to buy tons and tons of toilet paper? No. No, here's the funny thing. Here's the funniest thing when it comes to the whole toilet paper thing. Out of all of this stuff that's been shipped overseas and shipped here and there for everybody to get access to, toilet paper is one of the few things that is made almost locally in not only in every country, but in most cases in every like localized area, because it's just so cheap to make and produce. So toilet paper is one of these things that is never. That's the last thing that's going to like run out before before everybody's filing into Vault 111 and Vault 13. It's like these are the last places that this is the last thing that's going to go out of stock, and yet for some reason everybody's panicking and buying it. It's so
and
it's
ironically
so
causing
hilarious.
it to run out.
Yeah,
Because of that, yeah.
and yeah, and it's so ironic because again, it's like why this? Why this? Why not like canned soup? There's something that you'd think that would be flying off the shelves. I go to my local store. They have 2 pallets of canned soup. This is a really small store. 2 pallets of canned soup, and they're completely sold out of toilet paper. And I'm like, what is everybody thinking? Like like I'm like, when are you getting more toilet paper? And tomorrow. Like, how much are you gonna have access to? As much as we need. All right. How many cans of soup can you get? Those 2 pallets there, it's basically all we got for the next like month.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, maybe
One of the stores
people should
around
be...
here, they were just handing it to people out of the truck. They couldn't even unload it into the store. It was
Yeah.
clearly people planning to eat toilet paper.
I talked to somebody at Costco and they said they brought in an entire truck of just toilet paper and they ran out of it in 2 days. It was an entire semi truck, top to bottom, front to back, nothing but toilet paper. Day and a half gone. It's like we can't even like give. And I'm like, oh, how much like canned soup and like canned meats did you bring in? And then he's like, well, that stuff's on sale right now, and it's moving decently, but it's not moving as fast as we thought it would move. And I'm like, again, I don't understand why. It's like, why? Some couple, did you read the story? Some couple family accidentally bought 45,000 rolls. 45,000 rolls. You know when they're going to need to buy toilet paper again? Sometime in the late 2050s.
Well,
It's like, why? What do you do with this? Like, it's so funny. So anyways, like, don't panic, laugh about the situation, and then just follow best practices. It's all you can do, right? There's a limit as to how much we can do. But yeah, if you have extra cash, like make sure that you're setting aside extra cash. Like actually like get cash, hold some cash on yourself, have it, in your house somewhere safe. But also like this is a good time to invest because as deep as the dip is going to go now, it will rebound if this doesn't get any worse. If it gets much worse, then you have you have a whole other slew of problems to worry about.
Yeah.
And yeah.
All right.
So
Let's get back to the topics at hand, though. I mean, important issues, but we definitely, want to keep this more about escapism. But we do have the off-topic channel available on the Discord server if you want to talk more about this stuff. So we had mentioned just a few minutes ago about the significant possibility of console delays due to manufacturing components. However, right in line with that, we have had the specs for the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 both just recently revealed. And so we'll talk about this a little bit. I've been watching some analysis on it, and there's some interesting stuff happening. And apparently, I mean, it's looking like, at least in the short term, these are both going to be serious. They're going to give the beefier gaming PCs, they're going to be comparable, at least for the short term. And I mean, I'm interested to hear your analysis, but it's sounding like, these are going to be quite a step up in over the previous generation, like true next gen consoles, true next gen machines. Do you have any opening comments before we do an overview of these console specs?
Nope. Are you there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Discord that out.
Okay. No, I was just asking if do you have any opening comments about the Xbox and the PlayStation before we get into the specs?
Well, other than the fact that I think that we're going to see, at the very least, we're going to see limited quantity when they do start to come out, which is not so much a problem for Xbox as it is as they are doing something completely different with their progression. They're progressing the technology concurrently. They're going to have more upgrades to the Xbox, and they're doing some interesting stuff with it.
Yeah, the
It's going to be
series
a
like the
much
Xbox.
more bigger problem than with PlayStation. Like, especially when you consider this. So both of them have about equal manufacturing baseline. If they each get that manufacturing baseline dropped by 50%, they're still both producing about the same amount of numbers. Now, there's more people who are planning to buy the PlayStation than were planning to buy the Xbox. But if you show up at a store and there's Xboxes there and you're saying, when are you getting the next shipment to PlayStations? And they say 3 to 4 months. You're going to be really tempted to switch to that other device, to that other console. So keep that in mind. But as far as the power goes and as far as the consoles go, um, just generally speaking, they look. I mean, they're decent. Like they're pretty decent. Xbox has got a lot of juice. We were kind of expecting that. Overall, not really surprised on it. I think the Xbox is actually going to be better now and this is what they've been saying, which is why they changed the design so much. It's going to be a lot better for heat management. PlayStation is still going to have that problem. So that's interesting. That's very interesting. I'm interested to see where that's ultimately going to go with that. Can't put your TV on top of the console anymore, though. Not that that was ever advised to begin with, but
Not on top of it, but I do remember
yeah,
back in the day we'd
you'd
have
be
it sitting in front of the
surprised.
TV. Like we'd always used to have it sitting in front of the TV, like in most cases,
Hmm.
because they were usually that flat rectangular design. But now it'll have to sit elsewhere. But I mean
You haven't
that's
seen
okay
my
because you're not
siblings.
you're not doing as much of taking discs in and out either. Like
Yeah,
they will have optical drives, but I mean for in a lot of cases you're downloading games digitally. So actually I should I mean I don't know. What did you have any idea what the numbers are as far as people who buy their console games physical, actual physical discs as opposed to downloading
no,
or
no,
even when you buy some physical copies, they just have a download code inside.
yeah. They this has been a thing that's been really hard to track recently, just because there's a lot of people who have an avid interest in inflating or de-inflating or just obstructing numbers. So there's been a whole lot of issues with this because you just can't get real information on this, and that's been a huge problem over the past few years. So no, as far as that goes, more and more people are doing it digitally. There's a handful of people, collectors, that go out and buy, the collectible version. But increasingly, what's happening with that is they just get the code,
Yeah.
and then they just do that. So, yeah,
Yeah.
this will be kind of interesting. One thing that is kind of interesting, which I forgot to mention with the Cyberpunk thing, but basically for anybody who's buying their version, their physical version, and they're waiting to get that physical version, that may end up getting delayed. However, as I understand, they already have a backup plan for this, in that they will, if this is the case, then they will go out of their way to email out codes for your respective purchase. So if you bought it on Amazon, or if you bought it through CDPR, and you're waiting for that collector's edition, you will get an email with the code to just type in and download via whatever store you're using, and that'll function and work just as fine. So they're working on that as a backup. In a lot of cases, it's already mandatory. Like in a lot of scenarios, it's already a mandatory thing. They just they email you the code when they ship you the product. So it's again, that's something to kind of bear in mind. I totally forgot to mention that when we were talking about Cyberpunk to begin with. But yeah, that's a thing. So no need to fear, no need to worry on that.
Okay, fair enough. So, for the Xbox, both the Xbox and the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. And now, when we're talking about the Series X, I mean, it's supposed to be a lineup of machines. So this is going to be their base model specs, I'm guessing. Is that what we're looking at here? They're both going to have 8 Zen 2 cores. Now the Xbox has a slightly faster clock speed. But and then the PlayStation 5's has the variable frequency cores. Now, as far as this goes, looking at an article here from VentureBeat, so the CPU for the PlayStation runs at a slightly slower clock speed than the Xbox, but that's not really the important comparison. The Zen 2 CPUs both represent massive leaps over the last generation, and that's what's going to matter for the next several years.
Yeah.
All right. As far as the GPUs, put bluntly, the Xbox Series X should run games at a higher resolution and a higher frame rate, but this doesn't mean that the PS5 is a weak system. While its GPU has fewer compute units than the Xbox, it runs at a significantly higher frequency of 2.23 GHz. That is really high for a GPU, so it has fewer CUs, but each of those units is going to push out more processing than each of the compute units in the Xbox. So it sounds like it's going to be comparable in terms of graphics processing. Where in a lot of cases, looking at the specs side by side, they're fairly similar, fairly comparable machines. Where the only real major difference is in the I/O throughput speed, which is basically your data transfer speed. Which means when you're streaming in data, from as far you're walking around the game world and it's streaming in data, the PlayStation is going to be able to do that about twice as fast as the Xbox Series X. So that could really mean much lower load times, or just a much more detailed worlds that it's able to process sort of on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, the way it's looking right now, though, it looks like these are both next gen, really next gen machines that are going to be huge leaps over the previous generation. I'm basically just relaying information at this point. Analyzing hardware is not my forte. I know there's even people in our community who have a lot more knowledge and know a lot more about this. And there's been discussions going on about it on Discord all week. So you can check out, again, another good reason to join the Discord server. Check the link in the description below if you want to get in on that. If you have any other comments, drop them in the chat right now. We'll try to get to them. I don't see Notional or any of our other sort of hardware heavy hitters. But anyway, so what can we take away from this, Sib?
I mean, basically just what you said. Right now, the hardware is not so much the issue. It really comes down to the operating system. That's where I think that this is going to make or break it. The user experience, the amount of bugs and glitches that the system works. If you're running a powerful machine, but you just have a really bad install of Windows, or it's just you're not optimized at all, you're going to have huge problems. And this is where I think we're really going to see them split apart here. And of course, the tech bugs are going to get into this. Once they get their hands on these things, they're going to run them through the ringer. They're going to try all these games, and we're going to see which ones are going to work better and which ones aren't.
That's
Cyberpunk
ultimate.
is going to be Cyberpunk is probably going to be one of the best benchmarks for this going forward.
With RTX on. That's exactly right. I mean, crunching the numbers, looking at the specs side by side, it's interesting, but really, you just don't know until you see them side by side. and experience how they operate.
Yeah.
It's just really hard to say. And so, yeah, there will be reviews and analysis, going up as soon as these are available. But if we look just kind of a broad overview of what each system has to offer, PlayStation's major draw is still its exclusives. And that seems to be more and more the case, whereas Xbox is, it's going in different directions with its, its streaming services, and its, the more integration and sort of blurring the line between console and PC gaming, and variety of other things that it's doing. The Xbox seems to be moving more in that direction, focusing less on exclusives as far as draw and appeal of bringing people in.
Right.
So, do you think that you said more people are planning to buy the PlayStation than are planning to buy the Xbox? Does that have to do with the exclusives? Is that the reason?
No, that's just people. No, that's just typically how people function in this regard. It's they had the PlayStation. PlayStation outnumbers Xbox 2-1 basically. That's just how people typically are going to walk in. This is how it was last time. Is Xbox was 2-1 to the PlayStation, but Xbox did their reveals, and just they made so many people so angry with the Xbox that they just turned around and walked away from it en masse before the orders even kicked in, before it was in stores, and they had just peeved them off one after the other, after the other, after the other. Right now, you don't have the, it was basically essentially it was almost 70% of gamers switched from Xbox to PlayStation. You don't have 70% of PlayStation users planning to do this. You have about maybe about 20-25%. So that's actually going to marry up the consoles a lot closer to even, but PlayStation, I'm still expecting PlayStation to outnumber Xbox sales, at least for, at initial launch, for sure. For sure. You're going to have a hard time getting your hands on a PlayStation if you didn't manage to pre-order one or be first in line at the store. You're going to have an excess of Xboxes that will just be available. Just period. The price point on the Xbox looks like it's pretty reasonable, so that may end up driving up more purchases because, $100, especially after we go through this summer, $100 might be the difference between, whether you can pick it up or not. And if that's the difference, then a lot of people, especially especially for the younger folks, for Christmas, for Thanksgiving gifts, that for the holiday gift area, parents are going to walk in. How much for an Xbox? How much for a PlayStation? Which one's available? If it's cheaper and if it's available, whereas it's not available, they're going to buy the one that's available and cheaper, because especially if money's tight. So that's I think this is really where Xbox is going to be able to pick up, but I don't think that's how it's going to look at the immediate get-go. But yeah, as far as the exclusives and as far as the game lineup that people are being offered, more of the older hardcore fans, especially the Asian fans or people that were a fan of the PlayStation for the Asian games, a lot of them are moving over to Xbox. A lot of them. In fact, a majority in Japan. A majority of gamers in Japan have had it. Now, I don't mean like 90%, I mean like about 51% of gamers that used to play on the console are moving over to the Xbox because just simply their games moved. There's a whole bunch of games that were coming out on the PlayStation are no longer coming out on the PlayStation because of censorship issues. Instead, they're coming out on the Xbox. So that's driving a lot of people over there. So there's a lot of stuff that's kind of going on, and we don't really know where it's going to fall out until it actually ends up happening. So,
yeah, that is interesting. That whole censorship thing. Again, another. Yeah. It seems to be narrowing the appeal of PlayStation just down to its exclusives. They're not supporting the indie crowd nearly as much as Microsoft. They're
Well, it's not just the indie crowd; it's the niche crowd. Like
yeah.
we talk about indie games, and a lot of people kind of clump the niche crowd into the indie games. No, a lot of these niche companies, they've been putting out games for the past 15, 20 years. It's the same studio with the same people, and the past 100 uploads of product, whether it's for testing, whether it's an update, whether it's a product, whether it's a what DLC, whether it's a purchasable skin, the last 100 times up until this last like year and a half has been, here's our update, thanks, we'll put it on the store. Here's our update, thanks, we'll put it on the store. Then suddenly a year and a half ago, company moves over to the States, the board shifts from majority Japanese to majority culturally progressive white old men, and then suddenly it's like, hey, here's our update. Oh, sorry. This character's got something wrong with it. You're gonna have to redo this DLC. Well, what's wrong with it? Well, we're not gonna tell you. Well, can I speak to the manager? No. This is a little ridiculous here. I mean, I really just need to get this uploaded. Don't care. Fix it and bring it back. It's like, well, I don't know what to fix. Well, that's your problem, not mine. Okay. Maybe the skirt's too short. Draw in a little bit longer skirt, add in or whatever. All right, is this good? We'll let you know. Well, what? Wait, what do you mean you'll let me know? Like, I need to ship this. We've got the press announcement and all this stuff ready for it. Our customers are waiting for this. We'll let you know. It's like that's kind of stuff that's been happening there.
Meanwhile, these native Japanese developers are having to have all these conversations in English.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, because now they have to hire. They didn't used to have to hire a translator. They used to send off an email and they'd get an email back. Now they send off an email and they're like, sorry, you're going to have to resubmit this in English. Like, what? I thought this was a... Meanwhile, you have this whole wing of Xbox who has sent these guys, they showed up at their doorstep. Somebody physically showed up there from their doorstep, a representative of the company. First thing they do, they bow really low. They hand out their business card with two hands. Please take this. And the guy's like, oh, Xbox? Yes, we have a gift for you. It is the developer kit, an extra PC to help you with your transition. We're just giving this to you. Why would you give this to me? Because we want you to publish your games on the Xbox. And meanwhile, they're saying this entirely in Japanese. And like, okay, well, do I have to submit everything in English? No, we have a Japanese wing set up here. You're just going to call this person and they're going to handle everything. They native tongue and everything. And these people are like, wow, what customer service? So that's what we're talking about.
So the developer,
that's the difference.
So Microsoft has really been courting those devs. Yes. They've been courting the indie crowd quite a bit. They've been courting the PC gaming crowd a lot, especially with their streaming service.
And this isn't me hitting on PlayStation users. This is me making the observation that happened last time there was a generational shift, which was just at the beginning. There was 9 years ago, where Xbox walked out. They ignored all the small people that helped them get where they are. They treated everybody like garbage, and that's not a hit against the users of the platform. That's just is just a natural progression of how corporations work. A corporation pushes, and again, this isn't my perception on this. This is oh dear, I forgot his name again. Founder of Apple, Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs walks out and says, here's what happens that destroys corporations and companies. You have people who are working on making good products, and they're working on making good products, and they go out of their way to make sure that those products are really good. And then slowly, those people, their political power in the company starts to diminish and diminish and diminish, and sales guys and number guys come in and start replacing those people in their positions of power, until you have the marketing company who's doing everything. Then you have bye all of that beautiful, intelligent, like brain power that's focused fully on progressing the technology and making it better, making the user happy with it. You have fewer of them, and then you have more of the pencil pushers. You have more of the money people. You have more of the people who are like, hey, I just found out, if we put a 25-cent bill on everybody's bill, they don't even notice. They don't even care. And we end up making an extra $40 million. Let's do that. Hey, let's tack on another bill. Let's do that again. That's how you get these, you watch cell phone companies. When I signed up to one of my original cell phone companies, it was like, no extra fees, no hidden fees. This $40 a month, that's what you pay. Over the years, that $40 a month turned into $110 a month. How that happened? Like, without me noticing? That's shocking. They almost tripled what I was paying them in just a few years of just progressive, like, oh, there's new fees. Oh, there's a new feature thing that we have to charge you for. Hey, there's something else that's going on there. Hello, Dark Infinity. Test. I see ya. So, like, that's what happens. Again, this is a natural progression of what happens with these companies. And typically what happens is that the user base revolts, gets fed up, a bunch of people get fired, and then people who actually know how to run the company get put back in charge. And the company course corrects, and then they have to, spend all that time building up that goodwill again. You've seen Microsoft do this twice now. You've seen them come up, crash, kind of, as far as like customer service goes, and then they come up and they crash again. Now they're coming up again. So this is the third time that they're actually like, no, we have to make sure that we're giving a good thing. And again, this is not against the consumers. The consumers, you guys are along for the ride on this kind of stuff. And sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes these waves hit the wrong company at the wrong time, and you feel, really upset, or you feel that people are attacking you because they're attacking the company. And that's totally understandable. And it's also part of like human nature, because humans are very team orientated, and you don't like to see your team lose, and you want to see your team win. And even if that means that, but every once in a while you have to realize that the coach checked out a long time ago. He's just there to take advantage of you. And so it's hard for people to change teams then, because it sucks. So yeah, no, I'm not hitting on anybody because of their choice of it. I'm just giving the information as I see it, as not just how I see it, how Steve Jobs saw it, how corporations just function as a natural part of their evolution. And this is where it's like, hey, just be aware, know what's going on, and then react to it as it happens. So,
indeed, yeah. Some good comments in the chat. I can't get to all of them, unfortunately, but Scadrill says, why is Microsoft, out of all companies, becoming more consumer-focused all of a sudden? What are they hiding behind their backs?
Because they were about to hit the ground at Mach 3.
They crashed and burned.
They realized they were about to crash and burn, and that's when they... I mean, first of all, they fired a dude.
Yeah, they realized they were about to crash and burn. They realized, we can't just do anything we want and expect people to be happy with it. And they've really turned the ship around with that. And then, as Brotech points out, Microsoft had to change their approach to keep up with Sony. Now the tables are turning. It's the beauty of competition. Exactly. And I mean, Microsoft is a corporation. They're out to make money. But I mean, our hope is that these companies, they realize that being consumer-focused leads to long-term profitability.
Mm-hmm. Which, again, shocker! It's so shocking that customer service is your most important meal of the day, so to speak. I hope that works. But yeah, dude, it's like
most important meal of the day. Yeah. We have a video coming up about this. We have our new episode of Gaming After Dark, which is a series we are intending to focus more on producing those. It's been a long delay since the previous episode, but
we're also planning on getting more of these like short news articles out a day, where it's like we're going to cover a single subject for 5 to 10 minutes, and then just put that out. We're trying to get those out more often. So if there's things that you guys find interesting, if there's articles you want us to comment on, get in, go to our suggested content, or what is that one called? The suggested content, right?
Content requests, yeah.
Content requests. Okay, that's what it is. So under content requests, it's like just hit us up with what you feel is, what you feel you want us to cover, what you want us to try and cover. Let us know. We will try to start to do more of those things. It's going to be a really interesting year. I'm going back to work soon, and you know what? This is really funny. Last year, one of the last things that I had to go through, as I was finishing up the contract work for the year, was the people were really annoyed at how many people were working from home, and how they were going to completely remove any ability to work from home for this next year, for 2020. Don't you even dare. It's a fireable offense if you do any work from home, because it's very secure and all this stuff that we have to do. Well, that's just everybody's kind of standing around, and we're all looking at each other before we head back in, and we're like, so are they serious about that now? Or like do they really want us showing up, sitting beside the boss coughing, and I mean, is he going to be okay with this? Is this what he wants? So it's all up in the air. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Oh Lord.
All right. Some more comments I want to read here, because there's some great comments in the chat. The chat is it's hard to keep track of them all. Terror K says Microsoft still needs more decent first-party in-house console exclusives.
Yeah, 100%.
And let them be on PC too. I think there's going to be more of them. They've been buying up studios. They own Obsidian now, and I think that that's going to be a good thing. We've covered their approach for that with that. Recently, they take sort of a hands-off approach, and hopefully they continue to do so, but they let the game studios focus on what their skills are, which is making good games, and then Microsoft gets to put those good games on their own platforms.
They've made it quite clear that they're getting more of their games out onto PC right now. I didn't even realize this until I heard somebody was talking about it. They moved over that game that used to be exclusive over on their PC platform. Darn it, what's it called? The zombie one. State of Decay 2. So they moved State of Decay 2 over to Steam. Oh. And I remember hearing about it, but I was like, oh, it's over here now. And apparently, it's a little bit buggy, but the newest expansion that dropped for that, apparently it's amazing. Apparently it's really, really good. Apparently it's very, very well done, and people are really, really excited about it. It's called Juggernaut or something like that. Apparently it's really good. There are some technical issues as to why I think that the sailing one is not on Steam yet, but that one has had a lot of new content and other stuff too. So again, I'm not really excited about either of those games. State of Decay, when they first started working on this was years and years and years ago. I was very frequent on their forums and speaking with a lot of their devs, and I was really excited for it, but it kind of moved away from what I was originally. I was really hoping for a far more like RPG centered game, and we ended up not having that very much. So.
Mm-hmm. Schedule says, by the way, Cyb, really enjoyed your Naughty Dog video. Do more of those, please. Yes, those are exactly the kinds of videos that Cyb was talking about. We want to do more of those. We were trying to ramp up content, focus on what's most valuable to you, what's the most valuable use of our time. We've tried a lot of things on our channel, and we've done a huge variety of things, and we're starting to realize we need to narrow in on the best stuff. So so we're doing that, and your feedback is always welcome. That's why we put the feedback channel in the Discord server. So some talk about the PlayStation 5 reveal. Duke Togo 13 says, I was proud of gamers today. You still had some guys making excuses or saying PS5 reveal was amazing, but for the most part, people weren't shying away from expressing their disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
Funky Moin says, personally was not disappointed by the PS5 reveal. Would still prefer Sony to S.
Yeah, I don't think that the PlayStation is as bad as last generation's Xbox reveal. I don't think it's on that level. It's not something that deserves to be, thrown out or shot out of a cannon. But yeah, Ash, did you see my message here?
Yes, I did, and I've got it covered. So
Okay, cool.
yeah, so you know what's really funny to me, or not funny so much, but I've always thought the Xbox Series X was a silly name. Especially since they just had the Xbox One and the Xbox One X and whatnot. But I realized today Xbox Series X is going to be abbreviated to XSX. And I just saw that in Funky Moin's comment there, and that's just such an awkward abbreviation. It's pretty silly. There was a lot in the PlayStation reveal about the audio, and there's some comments about that here. Game Notes saying Mark Cerny is taking audio seriously. For a reason, I think the next evolution of music will be due to game developers, and yeah, they do. It does look like they've put a heavy focus on that. I mean, good audio in a game, I mean, it can make it. It's I wouldn't say it can make or break a game. I mean, obviously, bad audio can break a game, but like games that have really, really good audio, I think sound design in games doesn't get enough recognition because it's just such a great part about the all right, sorry about immersed in the experience of the game. Music too is another thing. Yeah, so okay, my audio is back. Okay, thank you about that. Sorry about the hiccup there. I don't know what happened. Silver BUU says, the XXX Xbox Series X. Yeah, a million X's in there. Let's see. Duke Togo 13 says, who do you think had a bigger impact on their brand, Jack Tretton or Phil Spencer? No idea. I don't have an answer to that question. Maybe Saib had to step away for a sec. Maybe he'll have an answer to that when he gets back. Ali Mahfouz says, question you both. Do you think that after the human malware ends, we will see new business models emerge, ones that could possibly see more profitability than what we've seen now? That could be a positive side effect of what's happening with the whole LARP situation that's happening. Businesses are being forced to change up how they do things, and if something turns out to work really well, that might carry on into the future. That might be something that historians look back at in a number of years and say, yeah, but one thing that came out of this is it changed our it changed how we do things in certain arenas, changed how we run businesses. So could be some positive side effects, such as we talked earlier about, more people are working from home, and businesses might realize, hey, this works. We don't have to pay the overhead. It gives our employees more freedom, and they're still being really, really productive. Could very well be. And okay, the sound is being choppy and cutty. I don't know what's going on. I apologize, everybody. I know it sucks to have audio problems happening. But YouTube is telling me the connection's excellent. My broadcasting software isn't reporting any problems, so I don't know what's happening there. I apologize for that. Even though, again, I don't even know what's going on. So hopefully it's not a massive issue. Although we are going to wrap up right away here. So, like Game Notes, okay, I'm cutting in on the middle of this conversation, but Game Notes is saying, yeah, like a musical with a choose your own everything from tempo to decision making, word puzzles with lyrics. Talking about integrating music with games, I think. There was that musical game that was just announced, but also there was I saw Markiplier do a Let's Play of a game where you actually control the game with your voice. You actually sing into the microphone to make things happen in the game. It was kind of an interesting test concept. So yeah, stuff like that. I don't know what the widespread appeal of that would be, or how they could implement that on a wide scale. But I do imagine that eventually we will be talking to our video games, and in dialogue, rather than selecting a pre-written option when we're in dialogue with an NPC. We'll just talk into our microphones, and the game will react to that. Probably going to be some bumps and scratches along the way as they perfect that technology.
I can't remember. I can't remember who did the skit, but there was a very famous skit that I had back in the day where it's like the evolution of game controllers, and they went, they covered like originally it was like, you remember the Atari one? It was a thumbstick and a single button.
Yep.
So a thumbstick and a single button. Then it evolved into like two buttons and a thumbstick, and then you had the Nintendo controller, which was revolutionary at the time. You had two buttons, a trackpad, and then you had a start and a select. It was like, how many buttons can you press? Oh my goodness! And then it evolved and evolved and evolved, and then the skit went kind of into the future, and they had it so that eventually everything was controlled by your hands, and then everything was controlled by your voice, and then everything was just controlled by your eyes, and then ultimately you just had this thing that you just put on your head, and everything was just controlled through your mind. But then people really wanted something to put their hand on, so the next model of this was a stick with a button on
it. Yeah.
And still the mind control thing, but there was a stick and a button so that you could hold onto a stick and press a button while you were using the mind control thing.
You know what's funny though? Like, it always bugs me when watching Star Trek. One of the things that just bugs me are these flat screen touchpads that everything is controlled by. No tactile feedback whatsoever. I really like in the new Picard show they have more of the whole holographic displays, but
I think they addressed it they addressed this in Wing Commander. So there was a famous series many years ago, Wing Commander. People might know it off the top of their head, but they had this moment where one of the actresses like commented on it because the weapons, there was multiple games, and the weapons and the interfaces changed so much between those iterations. And she explained that the scientific lore reason for this was that the technology of war was always changing, and things from just a few months difference would be totally different just to offset, the race against the competitor. So including everything from like, the interface to the weapons would change based off of that. So that's kind of how they explained it in there. And I kind of
make a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And I look at the Star Trek universe and I say, I think that in the Star Trek universe, you have, you can explain that away by different aesthetic choices of the people, right? You could argue that TNG, they didn't really ever want to feel that like feedback or that, that response. But then it became more, popular to have that, the holographic thing, and that's just a fad. Maybe in the future they won't even have that. So I think it's like, as we kind of have a different control schemes and different setups, like right now, I mean, it really is about the touchpads. Like as far as like the iPads and cell phones go, there's very little tactile responses in those.
No, that is true. We do have those flat screens, but if you ever try,
but again, I think it's a fad that ultimately will end up shifting into a different direction.
Yeah. Well, all I know is like whenever I've played like a game that uses the two virtual thumb pads on an iPad or on a phone, using the virtual thumbsticks that are trying to emulate the thumbsticks, it's so easy for your thumb to slip off into dead space and things like that. It doesn't compare at all to using the thumbsticks on a physical controller. All right. And let's see, so many good comments today. Robin Green says, going back to my comment about how we're going to talk to our video games in the future, Robin says, that'll work, Ash, until you unintentionally say something to a character while yelling at someone IRL. Yeah, you come back to your game and you've initiated combat because you were swearing at your dog or something. Yeah, that'd be funny.
What are you talking about? I already go through this when I speak to females. I don't like this is like, totally normal. Like, it's so sad. It's so sad. It's so sad. It's true. It's so sad.
That's one of the other interesting features that the Xbox Series X is going to have is the save states. Natively supported save states for games. Now, this is something that the Nintendo Switch already has, although it doesn't have multiple instances for it. But you can power down your Switch and power it back up and then resume your game exactly at the instant it was. It doesn't have to restart. It doesn't have to reload. It just instantly start back where you were, which is very convenient in some situations. But it's only for the game that you're currently running. And it doesn't have multiple streams, even for you can't have multiple apps on the Switch running at the same time. But the Xbox is going to support save states for multiple games. And so, that, of course, will just... I don't know if that'll eliminate the need for save slots. Like, you might want to have a backup save.
Yeah, no.
file.
I mean, again, depends on the type of game, but a lot of us prefer to have save slots. Like, I mean, sometimes it's just sometimes you're like, I really just want to go around the village and kill everybody. But I don't want to have this actually happen. I'm
You
really
want to be able to
frustrated
revert
with this.
back. Yeah, that's just it, right?
I did this in Divinity Original Sin 2 the other night because I'm playing through it for the final time. And I just got to a scene where I'm like, I am so annoyed with everything right now. And I was annoyed for a bunch of other reasons. I'm like, that's it. I'm just going to kill everybody. So I saved the game. And then I proceeded to wipe the entire city clean of life. And then I was like, okay, now that that's out of my system, I can reload and talk to the vendor and get what I actually wanted. So
That's funny.
I know.
You know something that I discovered that the new Ori game has that I didn't even realize until I absolutely needed it, which was excellent. But I got to a point where I hit a game-breaking bug. You had to put a rock on a button to open a door, and that holds it open while you're inside this area. But inside that area, I died and respawned, and for some reason the rock that was on this button did not reload, did not respawn in. And the game autosaves. So I was literally stuck. I couldn't move. And I was like, shoot, I don't want to have to replay the entire game. But I was looking through the menu options, and they don't just save your most recent checkpoint. They have backup saves. There was dozens and dozens of previous saves I could pick from. So that saved the experience for me. So that was kudos to them for putting that in. That was fantastic because I just backed up 2 or 3 saves and went through it again and didn't have any problems. So that was fantastic. But anyway, as far as save states and whether or not they're useful, I think it's a convenience thing. To answer Funky Moin's question here, I think it's super convenient for me now when I'm going on my Switch and I'm planning to play the same game I was playing previously. Just open it up and it's right where I left it, and I don't have to wait for the game to load. I don't have to do all this stuff. It's just a quality of life thing that I think is going to be, just a convenience thing. But you still do have your save slots, so that's like Cyb said. You can, if you need to revert to a previous save or that kind of a thing. I wouldn't necessarily trust my entire save to one of these snapshot save states.
Yeah, no. I really like when I save my games. I typically there's two. I'll do one of two things. I will either name the save game for something that's just happened in real life or something that's just happened in the game. So it's a little disconjointed, as it is with basically all of my mind, you'll be going through it, and it's like, is that a quote from a TV show? Yes, because I was doing X in the game, and I was watching the TV show at the same time, and then that line came up at exactly the time that it lined up with something that was happening in the game, and so that's why I saved it with that, because now I know exactly where I'm at in that state. And then somebody's like, okay, what about you know, I don't want to say that one word. Idiots get idiots face the wall or something like that. It's like, well, that's just self-explanatory. I was playing Civ, and one of the civilizations who I told not to build a city near my territory went and built a city over in that territory, and I just looked over at him and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna kill you all now. Like I was gonna put a city like 2 squares away from that. I cannot get us, I can't do anything about your city for like the next like 100 turns. But you have initiated the wrath of like your days are numbered, dude. Your days are numbered. Yeah. I take Civ very, very I can't wait for Humankind to come out. It's gonna be my new Civ baby. It's gonna be so great.
Scandal says, you watch TV shows while playing a game? That's heresy. Yeah, well.
Sorry, no, just so we understand each other. I watch a TV show, listen to news, a podcast, all while I play a game, typically. That's typically what's going on there. So, and they're all on fast forward. Unfortunately, Netflix doesn't have the fast forward option, so it's kind of annoying, but whatever. It's like 2 times speed at the very least. If I could watch everything on YouTube, that'd be so much easier.
All right. Yes. And with that, I think we're going to wrap up the show here. Lots of great conversation. It's been last part of the show has been a little disjointed. We had some tech issues, and then just some other stuff. But anyway, thank you all for sticking with us. It's been a great show, I think, nonetheless. And all of you in the chat are a great part of that. We want to keep the conversation going with you, so join our Discord server if you haven't already. And if you are new to the channel,
we might stream. Tonight might actually be. This is normally our raid date, so I'm actually tempted to do a stream of Kingdom Under Fire 2, possibly doing a full stream of that tonight. So we'll see.
Nothing wrong with more streaming. So keep an eye out for that. We'll put an announcement of that in the Discord if that happens. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment below. Let us know what you think of the show, what you think of for the channel. Join our Discord server. You can leave feedback there and join in lots of different conversations with all of our community members. We have a great time there. We really do. And of course, slam that like button before you move on. That really helps us out. We really appreciate it. I want to give a special thanks to our Patreon supporters and our channel members who help to make this content possible. Our big dang heroes on Patreon, Josh, Robin, Time Bean, and our 2 anonymous supporters. And our channel members on YouTube, Mr. Pazitzernik, Jer Schultz, Game Notes, Night City Punk, and Terror K. Don't forget, you can join the live show every Wednesday and Saturday and interact with us and be a part of the discussion. And, saying that for those of you who listen in the audio-only format on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify, we do put them up there. It does take us a little bit of time to get the shows up to those platforms. The latest news happens live on YouTube. So definitely subscribe. The Augmented Reality Podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Ash. On behalf of Subsidian, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll talk to you again very soon.